Good evening. It is Monday night in the state of Florida in the United States of America. Wherever you are listening to this broadcast around the world, I wish you a good evening, a good night, a good morning, whatever would be most appropriate. We do appreciate the fact that we have so many people listening internationally. It's very humbling to know that we have a lot of people around the world that are tuning in, and it really just goes to show that when spirituality is involved, there is no nationality, there's no race. It's just the human race and human people trying to get from where we are to where we want to be. I want to thank all of our listeners. The last 3 broadcasts that we've done have been the most highly listened to broadcasts that we have done to date. And I certainly don't expect this one to be any different. The traffic on our website is literally exploding. Looking at a graph earlier today of the listener traffic to the radio programs, and it's going almost straight up, which is very, very heartening. And the same thing on the graph of the listening on the viewing on our website. Twitter followers also blowing up. Thanks so much to everyone that is interested in what we have to say, and we do hope that we're able to provide something to you that's helping you on your spiritual path. And I have to think that it is, or so many of you wouldn't be tuning in, wouldn't be listening, wouldn't be going to the website. The website is available, obviously, 24/7, 365. The website address is www.nckabbalah.org, www.nckabbalah.org. You can follow us on Twitter at NCKabbalah, and we are also on Facebook under NC Kabbalah as well. Great shows coming up, and we're very, very happy, very, very excited with the way things have been going. I think it's just indicative of the fact that there's a spiritual awakening taking place throughout the world. People from all walks of life are coming to the place where they are becoming more spiritually aware. We're very excited about that, and we're looking forward to it. We have some great shows coming up. Every Monday night, we do have the NCK&FRIENDS show, like tonight, where we interview interesting spiritual people. We spotlight interesting spiritual people. On Wednesday nights, we do have the Quest show, which highlights a spiritual technology. And then on Friday nights, we're going to start doing something different. We have been having the New Covenant Kabbalah program, but starting Friday night, we have a brand new show that we're breaking out, a completely brand new show, a completely brand new format. I don't think I'm going to tell you just now what the name of the program is going to be. We'll keep you in suspense just for a little while. But on Wednesday night, during the Quest show, we'll go ahead and give you the name of the new show, and we'll tell you what the format of it is going to be like. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be different. I think that you're really going to continue to get a lot of information out of it, and we think that we may have ramped it up even to a higher level than what the NC Kabbalah show was. So we're very excited to have you here tonight. We are expecting Pleeb to call in. He is the founder and owner of Tulpa.Info. If you don't know what a tulpa is, if you don't know what a thought form is, well, basically, a tulpa, a thought form, they're synonyms, really. And what they are is a being that is created by thought. A person thinks about, focuses his mental energy, his or her mental energy, and they can, according to Pleeb at Tulpa.Info, actually create a spiritual entity, a spiritual being called a thought form or a tulpa. Now, sometimes tulpae, I believe, is actually the correct plural of the word. Sometimes tulpae can be created unintentionally as well, I think. Group think, group projection can actually create a thought form. I've often wondered many times the demons and devils that we talk about in Christianity, how many of them might in fact be tulpae or thought forms. So a tulpa can be created intentionally. A tulpa can be created unintentionally. So basically it is the focused energy, the focused mental energy of people that get together and create these beings. They really are energy beings. From my study of them, usually they'll start out as just a spiritual being. You may not even see anything at first, and then eventually over time, as the entity grows in strength and intensity, you'll start to see maybe a mist, and then maybe fleeting glances here and there of something that you can actually visualize. And before you know it, many times these tulpae will actually coalesce into something that is visible, something that can be seen not only by the people that create them, but it can be seen by other people. There's a lot of records of such, even in archaeology, obviously in spirituality, and even in psychology. There's records of people seeing these things that they've created. There's records of people actually getting these. And I just got a message from Pleeb that he's trying to call in, but he keeps getting a busy signal. The phone number to call in, if you're Pleeb or if you're anyone else that wants to ask a question, it's area code 347-237-5406. Area code 347-237-5406. You can also go in through Skype, and I see that I was a little bit lax in creating the chat room, and the chat room is open and available, and I do see a couple of guests there now. So please, if you are out there, dial 347-237-5406, and you should be able to get right through. My thanks to Joshua Allen for handing me that important memo. So Pleeb is trying to get in touch with us and get on board, and we certainly look forward to it. And not only is Pleeb coming on, but the plan is for him to bring some of his tulpae friends along with him. And our hope is to be able, as I see our lines filling up, our hope is to be able to talk with some of these tulpae, some of these thought forms, live here on the radio. And I see a bunch of people logging into the chat room, all saying hello, hey, good evening. It's nice to see all of you here. We hope that Pleeb's going to be able to call in, and it looks like he has been in. So without further ado, we're going to see if this is Pleeb on the line, and if so, we're going to go ahead and start talking with him. Hello, this is Jeff Doherty. Is this Pleeb?
Hey, this is Pleeb.
Pleeb, good to see you. Thanks for being persistent and solving that telecommunication issue that you had.
Okay, excuse my connection. Things are a little bit glitchy, and I'm a little bit nervous on here too, so.
Well, don't be worried. Don't be nervous. Just relax. We're glad to have you on the program, and we're also glad to have any of your tulpae friends that have come along. And I did put on the show page, and I am reiterating again here tonight that if you do want to call in, or if you do want to text or use the chat room to pose any questions, we actually insist that you treat all of our guests, both human and non-human, with courtesy and respect. And if you do that, everything will be fine. If you don't do that, well, you won't be on the air very long. Everyone here is desperate to make certain that everyone feels comfortable. And Pleeb, we want you to feel comfortable, so just take a deep breath, relax.
Yeah.
Everything is going to be great. It's a pleasure to have you here. Tell me a little bit about Tulpa.Info.
Well, I started it a while ago when a lot of this stuff I was learning about tulpas were starting to come up. And I was curious to see if it was actually possible. And there were a few claims already of people with tulpas, and so I created that as my personal website to log my own creation process of creating a tulpa. And eventually it became a really big resource for people as a community to form. So.
Gotcha. About how long ago was it that you started Tulpa.Info?
It was a few months ago. I want to say back in maybe April or May.
Okay, so fairly recently then.
Yes, and it kind of exploded. A lot of people started signing up, and along the lines of that.
Great. Pleeb, how long have you personally been interested in tulpa?
Well, I've been interested probably about maybe February or so.
Okay.
I would be going along different websites about lucid dreaming and stuff, and eventually the subject of tulpas started coming up, so I started looking into that really, and I met a few other individuals that claimed to have had tulpas, and we were discussing it. As I probably mentioned before, our community, while we do have some members of the metaphysical community and the spiritual community, we're more along the lines of trying to look at it from a psychological approach along those lines, and we're trying to see if we can find, like, different science behind it. Like if you see our banner, it says for science, and we're trying to find that connection, you know what I mean?
I got you, I understand. Now, how large would you estimate the tulpa community to be?
What was that?
How large do you think the tulpa community is? People like yourself that are interested in the subject of tulpas?
Well, our member forum, so far, it's been growing significantly. I think we have over 700 members now. Okay. And that's just the people that actually signed up.
Sure.
I'm not sure how big.
Checking things out.
Yeah.
So does it tend to be just a United States type community, or is it an international community?
Oh, it's definitely international. We have a lot of people, even in the chat room, are from Europe right now, and they're listening in. It's like 4 or 5 a.m. for them right now.
Right. I see the lines are lit up like the proverbial Christmas tree. We're certainly glad to have everyone involved, and a lot of people are saying hello to you, Pleeb. So say hello to all of your friends.
Hey, guys. Thank you for all the support you're giving me right now.
Pleeb, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
How many people do you think worldwide right now are, actively creating tulpas on a regular basis?
Oh, that's a hard one. There's a decent amount. I mean, even right now, if you want to talk about, like, involved in our community or altogether, whether they know it or not.
Right. I was just trying to get a feeling of worldwide, how many people are, involved in this, and I mean, how many people would you? I mean, if you just had to guess, how many people would you say in this world actually have tulpas currently, or actually, I don't know if that's the right. I hate to make a tulpa sound like a pet, but.
Definitely need a lot. I think a decent amount of the population. I mean, even people who, if you want to talk about people who end up having tulpas that don't know they have a tulpa, or what you were discussing a little bit ago. Let's see here. There's just like there's one member in our community where they ended up finding the community, and this individual had a tulpa, and her and her tulpa didn't even know what a tulpa was. And they were very happy to find this community and to learn about this.
I bet it gave them a real sense of peace and understanding to be able to figure out exactly what was going on and find out that they weren't doing it. Well, that's great to hear. Why, Pleeb, do you think? I know there's probably a lot of reasons, but what are some of the reasons why people create tulpas?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people do it for the companionship. Okay. There was some discussions going on in our community about that before, and one of the bigger reasons were coming out for the companionship, to have a friend. And another reason some other people would do it for, the different aspects, like we're talking about before, they have like subconscious access type things, helping with memory withdrawal, there's this one person, he's a military veteran, and he has post-traumatic stress syndrome, and his tulpa helped him cure his nightmares.
Wow. I could see where, if we're talking strictly from a psychological aspect, I'm certainly not a psychologist. I did spend 20 years as a Protestant minister, a lot of counseling at that time, and I could see where to have someone or that you could even externalize some of the pressures and feelings that are inside of you. I think of the post-traumatic stress, just to be able to have someone that you could externalize that onto would probably be, I could see it being extremely therapeutic.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Right. And someone in the chat room brought up something that I meant to ask you, and I had forgotten to write it down. I'm glad that they brought it up. The subject of, kids that, have imaginary friends. Do you think that either is a tulpa or sometimes into a tulpa?
Yes, I actually believe in you have a member in there, Blue Sleeve, and he's actually more of an expert on this than I am. He's discussed this a little bit more than I have. But, yes, I do believe it's actually very close to the process. I mean, it's not necessarily that every single imaginary friend might be a tulpa, but it's a good chance that there's a lot of tulpas that, were imaginary friends.
Sure.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, sure. I can see that. And a couple people have suggested in the chat room, and I would concur with them, if you move your microphone a little bit farther away from your mouth, because we can hear you breathe and we can tell you're nervous. You're obviously settling down a lot, but we're all friends. So we don't want you to hyperventilate or anything out there. We don't want to have to dispatch 911.
Fair enough. How's this?
That's good. Yeah, just like somebody said here, breathe slowly.
Yeah.
A good point here too that I think it was Blue Sleeve that said, no one can understand you better than a part of yourself. So when someone creates a tulpa, is it part of them?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it would eventually. I mean, I believe that it does come from yourself, and we can go and talk about theories all day long. But my personal opinion, I think a tulpa is probably originates from your subconscious mind, and I think somewhere along there, before it ends up getting its own consciousness, it does originally come from inside yourself. You know what I mean?
Sure, I do. It makes perfect sense to me. Now, when someone decides to consciously create a tulpa, before I ask you this question, let me broach this. I spent a lot of time, as a minister. I was in the Pentecostal type church, and there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of intensity there. Do you think from the logical background, and if anybody in the chat room has a more spiritual take on this, or if you do, please feel free to offer it. But do you think that group consciousness, like that intense group feelings, can create tulpas, even if it's accidentally?
This is a good question. I think there's a few explanations for certain things, and something like this, it's like you talk about with the Pentecostals and everything like that. With I'm sure you can mention things like with demon possession or demonic things such as that, or people claiming to being able to hear a god or something along those lines.
Right.
I think it's a realistic possibility that some of those could end up being the case of the tulpas. You know what I mean?
Sure, I do. And I always thought it, very interesting. I was a Pentecostal evangelist, but I would not say often, I would regularly go and preach and teach at other churches that weren't Pentecostal. And almost without exception, every Pentecostal church, had some of those things you're talking about. They had demons. They saw angels. But, not many demons in the Methodists or in the Episcopalians or, in the Baptists. And, there's an old joke that the Pentecostals see a demon behind every bush, and, maybe that's why there is a demon behind every bush, because they expect them to be there, and they're creating them, as a part. Maybe they are a thought form. What would your take on that be?
I couldn't really answer that. I'm sorry.
Well, it's an interesting thought anyway.
It is.
Now, what do most people do with a tulpa once they've created them?
Usually, for the most part, what do you do when you have a friend, a lot of them, they just end up hanging out, and it's like one person I know, he says, I don't even think of him as tulpa anymore. He's just this roommate that I have. And, it's like there's some other people, like I know, it's a shame that Marcus wasn't able to make it on here, but him and his creator, they've worked on different experiments and stuff like that, like trying to help wake him up inside a lucid dream, and various things along that, memory recall,
sure.
Overall helping with that type of situation.
Very interesting. Now I can see there's even some, which is very healthy. There's some, divergent opinions even within the group that's, in the chat room. A lot of people, one person says that if groups can create tulpas, each member would get their own tulpa, slightly different but similar. And then someone else says that, they believe that, groups could, create, as a group create a tulpa. And another good point made here is that a lot of people believe so hard that they do make their own tulpa. So
yeah.
So it does obviously seem like there are, as you said, a good number of people that are creating tulpas, and maybe a lot of them, before resources like Tulpa.Info were available, and groups like yours that people can actually go and discuss it, may not have known what they were doing, but now that they do know, it probably is encouraging people to be, I don't know, maybe more active in it, and they're not feeling like they're odd or alone or anything of that nature.
I agree.
So what is your goal with Tulpa.Info? What do you hope to do?
My goal right now is to finish my experiment first of all, and it's coming around really well. I do have a tulpa. Her name is Chess, and I'm still working on being able to hear her better, but that's something we're working on. But in the end game, I'd like the site to be a really good resource for a lot of people. Just get the message out there, especially for different people that are already out there that might have a tulpa and they don't even know what a tulpa is, such as that other member. It'd be nice to be able to reach out to those people, and just overall something along the lines of that. Maybe for an end
now,
game.
When you
yeah.
No, go ahead, please.
Oh no, I was just going to say, maybe for an end game, be able to show people that a tulpa, really is its own person. They're not just, this schism in somebody's head or mental illness or a monster under the bed, but they really are their own person that can think and feel, and they have their own thought process,
Sure. That's very, that's fascinating. And if you would, just walk us through, kind of briefly, what is the process? What does a person go through when they, create a tulpa? And, does it start off, just in thought, and then you start to see little things, and all of a sudden they become more visible? Just walk us through it if you could.
It really depends. There's actually quite a few processes right now being discussed on the website, and usually, depending on whose method you use, there's two people in particular that have published two guides, and they're similar in ways, but they're still a little different. Like one of them starts out where you would start out working with the personality. That is, you design the type of personality you would like to base the tulpa on. And you would just, create that personality in your mind to try to establish a correct personality, and then afterwards the other guy doesn't do that. It just goes straight to visualization, where that's you just kind of visualize the tulpa in whichever form you're choosing, and what people are usually doing is they would, establish a personality, and they would just visualize the tulpa, and they would just spend, X amount of time visualizing it in their mind's eye until they can see it. And the other key element is what we call the narration process, and it's basically talking to that thought form, talking to that visualization that was created. And what happens is, if you keep talking to that visualization, eventually it starts to respond. And this is all still in your mind's eye. But after, the tulpa is what we call vocal, where it's able to talk with us and everything and talk back to you while you're speaking with it, you would then move on to the imposition process. And imposition is basically you're trying to impose the tulpa on all of your senses around you. And eventually, once the imposition process is completed, you can see your tulpa and hear your tulpa like it was actually, right there in front of you physically.
Absolutely. Now, I've read studies and historical documents where tulpa have actually gotten to the point and strong enough where not only their creators could see them, but other people could see them as well.
I've read about those as well. So far, no tulpa in our community has gotten to that point. It would be really curious to see if a tulpa ever claimed to be able to get to that point where we can actually see them. As I said, we've discussed more along the Are you still there?
I'm still here. I was just about to say I thought we lost you, but thankfully you're back with us.
Okay, very nice. But yeah, we haven't had any instances of that yet so far, and there could be some theories on that as well. One of the members, you said in the chat room, spoke about where shared tulpas, where one theory was everyone in that area ends up getting a similar tulpa. You know what I mean? And maybe that could be a case of something like that. But it's interesting.
It's fascinating, really. You're listening to the NCK&FRIENDS broadcast. I'm your host, Jeff Daugherty. We're talking tonight with Pleeb from Tulpa.Info. Have a fascinating discussion about tulpas and thought forms. And we appreciate Pleeb being here tonight, and we appreciate all the people joining in the chat room as well. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you before we go on and maybe take some questions, or if there's a tulpa available that we could to hear from, that would be great. A lot of obviously with anything that's new and with anything that is not well known, there's a lot of misunderstandings, and a lot of people have the misunderstandings and have read and heard that the tulpas can turn mean, they get out of control. And can you speak to some of those rumors and just respond to them as a person that knows and understands the phenomena very thoroughly?
Yeah. As far as who's where, I'm sure you've read the basic story. A person creates a tulpa, and then eventually the tulpa gets too powerful, it gets uncontrollable, and eventually has to be destroyed or destroys the creator. I'm going to be honest. Almost every single tulpa that I've ever met is just a big wad of love. Seriously, it's like one of the nicest people you'd ever meet for the most part. There is a case that I can think of, but in that case, there's two cases, and one of the cases was a misunderstanding, and the tulpa ended up being it ended up being a big misunderstanding. The creator was fine, the tulpa was fine. They're all happy now, and let's see here.
But, that makes perfect sense. That, if you treat, it doesn't have to be a tulpa. If you treat any other type of a life form poorly, there's a good chance that they're going to turn around and treat you poorly. I mean, what you do, a lot of times you do get back. And, one of the things that might be involved too, Pleeb, is, if you're writing a book, you're trying to sell a book, you're trying to sell copies, if you've got a story about a tulpa gone bad, that might sell you some more books rather than a tulpa that's a big wad of love, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it's like somebody in our community one time was discussing, oh, well, I'm going to create a tulpa, what if it goes insane? It's like, okay, well, the chance of a tulpa just randomly going insane and trying to hurt you is about the same chances as just a person, just a friend you're having randomly going insane and turning on you. I mean, I would consider that similar circumstances.
Now that makes perfect sense to me. That makes perfect sense to me. Do we know if there are any tulpa guests that we have here that we might be able to talk to?
I believe you have quite a few, especially in the chat room here.
Okay.
Let's see here. Yeah, there's several members in the chat room right now. Look, here you are.
No, I'm assuming that, and this is an assumption perhaps I shouldn't make, but I'm assuming that the tulpa would probably prefer to I think you said comment through the chat room and not verbally at this time.
They'd rather be going through the chat room right now. I mean, I can confirm, for example, Morgan. You have Morgan here. You have Lauren here. Just off the top of my head, just looking down the chat room here.
Well, if it's all right with you, I'd like to direct some questions to them if I could.
Oh, yeah, they'd be happy to help with that, answer that. And
let me just apologize beforehand if I, ask anything that, seems stupid. I want you to know that I am, very respectful of you, and I'm not trying to ask anything, foolish or silly. So if I do, please, please take it with the proverbial grain of salt and understand that it's ignorant. It's not trying to be mean at all or trying to poke fun. Just for any of the tulpa that are here listening to us, do you, as a tulpa, remember anything before you were created, or do you just start remembering from when you were created? And I'm going to, wait for some answers to come up here, and then I'll go ahead and read out what people are saying. Now, one tulpa said very little, and then another answer, Morgan says yes. They're not her memories. I'm assuming that Morgan is a female. Is that, do you know, Pleeb, if it's a male or female?
Yes, Morgan's a female.
Okay. So Morgan says they're not my memories per se, but I've that were formed before I was around. And someone else says no, not really, and someone says no, we don't. And here's a very interesting point. The name that I see in the chat room is "Oops, I blogged too much."
Yeah.
It says, "Well, I have my person's memories, but not my own." Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So, if you don't remember too much of or anything before you were created, do you recall the creation process itself? I know humans, we don't usually remember when we were born, but do you as a tulpa remember what it was like to be created? And there's also someone, Nothing28 says that tulpae can gain access to the host memories through whatever methods they do, but they don't have their own because they didn't exist before creation. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I can't really pronounce all of these. What Zero said, yeah, kind of. It was fun remembering or referring to the creation process, I believe. So that is interesting that what would remember the creation process and think about it as fun. I think if any humans remembered their birth, they probably wouldn't have a similar feeling about it being fun. It's probably a lot more traumatic for a human than it is for a tulpa. And then Gideon and Lauren says, I do, and I considered the creation a collaboration. Huh. Pleeb, any comment on that? I considered the creation a collaboration.
Yes. Lauren has spoken about this before, and when she was considering doing the creation process, she was mutually working with Gideon at the same time, trying to help the creation process. Like when she was self-aware, she was doing a lot of things, taking whatever he said to her and filing it away to think about it later, and basically working as well to help create herself while she was being created.
Very, very interesting. That's fascinating. So it really is a collaborative endeavor in many instances.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Now, I'm assuming that, just like any friend, when a person creates a tulpa, that the tulpa and their creator are not together all the time. So my question to the tulpa that are being so kind to answer is, what do you do when your creator is not around, or is busy at work or school or whatever, is not interacting with you? What do you do when you're on your own time? I'm just waiting for some answers to pop up here. That's kind of a long question. Morgan says, well, it depends upon my mood. Isn't that just like the rest of us? She says, I take hikes, I play video games, I watch old memories of movies and things, and just for clarity, yes, all of those are done in our head. Very interesting. So Morgan takes hikes, plays video games, watch memory movies. Let's see. What else do we have here? My tulpa helps some by working with me on hearing her better, giving me ideas on how to help, since she mostly has a better idea of what works in my mind. That's for some reason I'm having trouble with the resolution on my screen. Is that Chupi?
Yes.
And Lauren says she likes to paint, and that gardening is also fun. Very, very interesting. Now, Pleeb, when we're talking about these activities going on, is it something that's more of a, and this is kind of maybe a spiritual thing, I know you're coming from a psychological reference, but is this more of a astral plane type activity, or is
that's from a spiritual aspect? You could think of it along that. What we just call it is like a dreamscape or a wonderland, okay. And it's basically a world, a mental world in your head, where from the psychological aspect of it, we consider it a mental world in your head that tulpae can be in. You can also get yourself into there as well, and they can interact with you in there. They can interact with the world in there. For them, it's almost like a huge dream, you know what I mean? And
right.
They can be doing their own thing in this world while you're not interacting with them.
Sure, and I see some of the dichotomy in your group here. There are people that are obviously from a more spiritual standpoint. They say that it is, the astral plane. It is, in a lucid dreaming, and then others are commenting what you're saying, that it's more of a mental construct. And I'm trying to read through some of the comments. Very, very fascinating. This is really a great show. I appreciate you coming on and talking with us on this. So tulpas, really are, as you said, they're their own being. So when they're not interacting with, like your tulpa's name is it Chess?
Chess, yes.
So when you're not around, Chess is doing whatever it is that Chess likes to do.
Yes, that's correct.
That makes perfect sense. I like that. Now, as a tulpa, again, directing us back to the tulpa that are with us, Pleeb, do you, as a tulpa, do you have the desire to get to the place where you are visible to your creator, visible to other people even, or is that something that you even really care about? And it's interesting, someone said here that Again, Shupi said that tulpae apparently experience their wonderland just as realistically as they do reality.
Yes.
Then someone, it was, oops, I blogged too much again. He or she, do you know if that's male or female?
I'm not sure who that is on the username.
Well, they say, oh, yes.
Okay, Atsko. Yeah, I know who that is. He's a tulpa.
So, in his opinion, he does, I'm assuming it's in response to the do you want to be seen? And he says, oh, yes, in my opinion, I would. Is what is that right? WT, please?
Yeah.
It's
yes, what?
Okay, yeah, that's my mistake. I apologize. So what says yes, I'd like to, be able to be visualized by my creator, but no to wanting to be seen by everybody else. Morgan says I do want my creator to see me. It's much more convenient than her having to listen for me, as she is very distractible. Now that's funny to me. I mean, it's obviously like a real friendship because you're at the point where you care enough for each other that you're giving each other some gentle ribbing. So, Morgan wishes her creator could see her, so she wouldn't be so distracted sometimes. It'd be easier to get her attention. That's interesting. That's very interesting. And Chupi, if I'm saying that right, again says very much yes on wanting to become visible. And Gideon and Lauren, I think it says L, so I'm guessing it's Lauren. Lauren's content with things as they are now, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk to others when I can. And Morgan said, don't be so hard on Tess. I'm sorry if I'm being hard on Tess.
Oh, no, that was Lauren telling Morgan not to be so hard on Tess.
Oh, okay. Great. So it's interesting to me. I would have expected a unanimous, oh, yes, I want to be visible. I guess, anthropomorphizing, putting human values onto the tulpa, and that's obviously not very, very kind. But it seems like it's kind of a split. Do you have any comment on what it would be?
I think it depends on who's content with what. I mean, I've spoken with a few tulpas on the matter, and some of them, a few of them do want to indeed be able to be visible by a lot of people, be able to be visible by others. Others are just pretty much content. I mean, for them, one person was saying, one tulpa was saying, I don't want to deal with the responsibility. Why should I have to? I mean, if I, was out here, maybe I'd have to get a job. Maybe I'd have to socialize with people. I can do whatever I want in here. Even if other people can't see me, I still have everything that I would ever want. And then you have others that are saying, well, so what? I'm in this dreamscape here. I'm in this wonderland, and what else can I do? So what? I can't interact with anybody. I can't, physically interact with everybody. Everybody can't see me, and so you do get a diverse opinions on the subject, depending on who you ask.
Sure. Now, a question both for you, Pleeb, and for any of the tulpae that would like to chime in on this. Have any of you heard or, heard tell of a tulpa that became strong enough that would actually be able to interact, on a physical basis, be able to touch or be felt by, a human, I guess, on our physical plane? Have you ever heard of that, or is that even possible, do you think?
Other than the creator itself, I haven't heard of it. I mean, I've read about it. If you look into different historical stories and stuff like that, you can read about it, but we don't know of any cases that have been in that realm. Okay. At least me personally.
Now, Morgan says that she's heard no such stories. What says the tulpa can touch, but can touch the creator, but not others. Morgan says we don't think it's possible. Oops, I blogged too much, not to my knowledge, but I hope it's possible.
Yeah.
Nothing 28 from a psychological point. They can only interact with their host and send them senses through the mind. And then J.D. Barr says, at the moment, the best we can accomplish is through Tulpa and host possession, and then Nothing 28 says astrally, we don't know. Fascinating stuff, it really is, and the possibilities seem almost endless, Pleeb.
Yeah.
Seems like there's a whole blank canvas out there that, you know, Tulpas and their creators can really pick up their own brush and begin to paint what they want into reality.
Yeah, and I've talked with a few people about this before. I mean, the way, even if you think about the way technology is going, I've been called sickly optimistic in this sense, but really I tell a lot of people the future is bright. And there you have technology now where somebody can wear a helmet and move a computer mouse around the screen just by using the power of their thoughts. So I'm thinking, you know, what if it's possible for the host to wear the helmet and the Tulpa to be able to move that mouse instead? You know what I mean?
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, this would allow, ultimately, I could imagine wearing some sort of helmet and my Tulpa being able to voice her words through the helmet using something along those lines, or maybe eventually, you know, being able to control some sort of machine or some sort of robot. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that would give them.
It's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, that was, and to be honest, the technology exists today, but it's not been tested to this extent. But maybe in the future, something like this could be tested out, and maybe tulpaes would be able to, create, run their own machines, voice their words through technology. Something along those lines, I think, is definitely in the realm of possibility.
Absolutely, and it sounds like there's a unanimous approval of your idea, Pleeb, and everybody seems like they're very excited about that. Let me ask a question of our Tulpae guests again, if I could, and if you please feel free to chime in. And we're having a fascinating discussion tonight on the NCK&FRIENDS program. We've probably had more friends tonight than ever, and we're very excited. We're talking with Pleeb, who's the founder of Tulpa.Info. Some of his friends, some of his human friends, and also some of his Tulpa friends are with us tonight, and they're being, most gracious, and I appreciate they're allowing me to ask them silly questions and to give us great answers, and we're really, really enjoying this show, and we are almost out of time. Let me ask this. Is there a issue of proximity, meaning does a Tulpa have to hang out in the same general geographical location where their host is? Please, why don't you answer it and give me your thoughts on that while some of the Tulpae respond.
There's some interesting thoughts on that. I think, let's see here. I know a few instances of different, a certain Tulpa, for instance, she has wings, and she would go out outside the person's house and go flying around. She would talk about, sitting on a cloud or flying about the neighborhood. And I know another Tulpa, for instance, who I asked her, well, why don't you go outside and take a walk around the block real quick and come back in? And she was able to explain about going outside and what she saw and everything. Now, the question is, did she actually see that? Or from a psychological point of view, what I think is happening is I think the subconscious mind is basically fabricating the world that they see when they go about. So theoretically, they can fly up into space, or they can just take a walk around the block away from their creator, but the mind kind of puts together what it thinks is around there, and that's what the Tulpa would see.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, if I'm sitting in one corner of my room, Chess could go and sit in another side of my room, and I already know what's there. She knows what's there, and everything's. We actually have an article about that. I believe it's the reaches of the Tulpa. It's Tulpa.Info/guides, and there's a little essay written about that discusses some of those things, and I believe there's a new article in the article section on the website about that too.
Interesting. So, following that logic, if we could a little bit, Pleeb, it would stand to reason, at least in my mind. I don't know if it's true or not, but let's say that Pleeb has been, to Paris and to Munich and to Rome and to London. It might follow that Chess would be able to explore those places as well.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Very, very fascinating. And it would be interesting to note as you continue your experiment and as you continue to follow your interest in this area, if as some of the people, some of the Tulpae, I believe, in the chat room have said that they can go to other places outside of where their host is, and if the Tulpa could experience Paris because you've been there, if you would be able to, in reverse, experience the places that the Tulpae have been.
That's an interesting idea, actually. I've not thought of that, actually.
Well.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting idea, actually, and I'm curious if somebody who might have experience, any of the guys listening out there, if any of you have tried that.
Yeah, if anybody of you tried that, chime in here on the chat room. We'd be glad to talk with you about that. It certainly sounds like an interesting idea. And one person here says, I've heard of a tulpa flying up to see space, and it was rather boring and empty. Just a lot of space in space. And Morgan says that she's willing to test it out sometime. No current experience, however. Interesting. What a fascinating time we've had. What a great subject matter this has been. Pleeb, I think there's a couple of callers here. Do we want to try to take a couple of calls real quick before we wrap things up?
That would be great.
Okay. Now, sometimes when I do this, folks, there's a little bit of a breakdown in the software. Some people call in just to listen to the show. Other people call in and want to talk. So if I go to you and I say you're on the air, if you just want to listen to the show and don't want to talk, just tell me that real quickly, and we'll put you back on hold and you can continue to listen to the show. So some of it's not as functional as it has been. So I'm going to go to the first caller here. And again, if you want to talk, great, ask your question. And if you don't, please just let me know. And again, remember to be civil to all of our guests. Hi, this is Jeff Daugherty. You're on the air. Would you like to ask a question or make a comment?
Is this me?
Hello? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize I was the first caller. Yes. This is a Tasco using his Skype account.
Oh, okay. And who am I speaking with?
This is a Tasco using my person's Skype account.
Oh, okay. Are you a Tulpa?
Oh, yes.
Very. It's an honor to speak with you. What have you thought of the show so far?
It was informative.
If you could say one thing to humans that you want them to know about Tulpae, what would it be?
Not really sure what to discuss. I don't talk to people much.
Right.
Or at least not with my voice.
You're doing a remarkably good job. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm very nervous.
What comes to your mind that you'd like us to know, that you'd like to explain to us about you?
About just me in general?
About you in general, or about Tulpae in general? Anything that might help broaden the understanding, or just something that's on your mind?
I realize this may sound silly, but I didn't really come here with much of a plan in mind.
That's very fine. But if there's nothing that comes to your mind right now, we do very much appreciate having you on the program. We appreciate your boldness and wanting to speak to us live on the air. And
thank you.
I've done some research, and you may be the first Tulpa that's ever spoke on the radio in all of history. You might be a trendsetter.
That's kind of embarrassing.
So we thank you very much for calling in, and if in fact you are the first tulpa ever to speak on the radio, you certainly did a great job, and we look forward to speaking with you more in the future. Anything you'd like to say before I go on to the next caller?
I guess just that I got dibs.
Well, congratulations to you. You did a great job. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
Now, folks, that was obviously very fun, maybe a historical moment in radio to actually speak with a tulpa platform live on air. Pleeb, can I take one more call here real quick?
Sure.
Let's go right here. Hi, this is Jeff Doherty. You're on the air. Did you have a question?
Hello. This is Bluesleaf. Do you hear me?
Yes, I do. And you've got about 2 minutes. I hate to put you up against the time like that.
Yeah.
But, if you have a question, please go ahead and ask it. Or if you have a comment, we're all ears.
No, I don't really have a comment, but my tulpas want to greet everyone who's actually listening right now, Pronto and Alex. They are very excited about the show as well. And if there are some people who are more into the spiritual stuff, I am more leaning towards the psychological side. But if you, for example, have heard of C.G. Jung.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, he has done some stuff with his mind also, very similar to what we call a tulpa. He has been talking to like thought forms and the like, and he was
I forget
discovering
his terminology. It slips my mind right now, but he has a name.
And he was very much concentrating on those places he was visiting, and we seem to pull these tulpas from there. We do not know if this is only part of our mind or if this is some places from the collective consciousness, but I think it might be interesting for those people who are more into the spiritual stuff.
Very fascinating. Thank you so much for that comment. That was excellent. I want to try to squeeze in one more caller, if it's all right with you, Pleeb.
What was that?
I want to try to squeeze in one more caller, okay?
Oh, that would be fine.
Hi, this is Jeff Doherty. You're on the air. Did you have a comment or a question? Hi, this is Jeff. If your area code's 847,
Hello?
I'm talking to you.
Hello?
Hello, this is Jeff. You're on the air. Did you have a question or a comment?
Yes. I don't know. I just feel like this all seems a little sort of sketchy. Like, will this sort of thing create like damage to my psyche or whatever? Going pretty much taking a part of my consciousness and manifesting itself into a hallucination. Will it have any effect on me?
That's an excellent question. Let's talk about that a minute, please. That kind of goes back to what we were talking about, before, some of the the wives' tales, and of course something that's brand new. There's obviously going to be some nervousness about it. And for those of you that listen live, we appreciate it's left on the show. We're going to go over time here, and some of our premium listeners will be able to continue the discussion. And if you listen to the program on recording, I believe you'll be able to get it on the archive. But we will be going over, so you won't hear me signing off, because this is fascinating. We're going to go over at least a couple of minutes. But, Pleeb, from my point of view, and I would certainly want to throw this back into your court because you're the expert, if you're creating a tulpa or a thought form, and you are, projecting it yourself, and you're doing it as of your own will and volition, I don't really see any way that it could cause any psychic or other damage. Do you?
Not necessarily. No. I mean, I got a little bit of an echo there. No, not necessarily. No. I mean, it's still. I mean, it's part of you. And that's like the question, if it would purposely try to hurt you, it's by extension ending up hurting itself anyway. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And how could something that's created as part of yourself, want to hate you? as far as like the splitting your consciousness and stuff like that, I don't necessarily think that you're splitting your consciousness in all of this, but rather creating a new one. And
right.
if you wanted to think of it as like when you're installing an operating system or something on a computer, usually there's extra disk space on your hard drive, and you can put more than one operating system on the hard drive. And they don't exactly, you know, break into each other.
Sure, that makes perfect sense. And yeah, that seems to be the consensus of the room. You know, the Tulpa is going to have basically the type of personality that you give it. And I lost track of the one person. They said that as a person that has 6 Tulpae, I can see that you know, it's a very positive experience. Was kind of the gist of the comment. I lost it there in the stream, so I apologize for that.
That's fine.
Pleeb, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. It was a really great show, a fascinating show. I don't know that we've ever done one that was any more interesting.
Yes, well, very nice, and I'd like to thank you for having me on as well. It's really interesting to see the different opinions and just the general viewpoints, and it's really interesting in regards to that.
So please give your website information again and email any contact information you'd like to give out.
Yeah, my website is Tulpa.Info, and you can. My email address, it's pretty easy. It's just admin@Tulpa.Info, and you can almost always reach me on email. You can, you're interested in tulpas, you can, you know, Google the word tulpa, and we're on the first page. Like, I think we're 5 or 6 websites down, past the Wikipedia and stuff. And we've got a lot of guides and resources and a community in general that would be happy to help out. So
Pleeb, it's been a real pleasure. I want to thank you for coming on. And I'd like to give my sincere thanks to the Tulpae that were on and to those of you that spoke. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with us. We appreciate you very much. And hopefully, Pleeb, we can have you on again sometime.
That would be fantastic. And just one more shout out to the guys in the community, especially the different Tulpae that were excited to be on here today. And especially to ASCO with congratulations, you were the first Tulpa to ever be on the radio.
And did a great job.
Yes.
Please, thank you so much, my friend, and thank you to all of my new Tulpa friends. We certainly appreciate you being with us. We appreciate you being with us on the air tonight, and we certainly wish the best to all of you. Wow, very, very interesting show tonight. And I really do think that that was the very first time that thought forms for Tulpae have ever been interviewed on the radio or on any media. And I was very, very surprised and honored to be able to actually speak with. It goes to show you, folks, there's a lot of things out here in this world that we don't understand. And that's a part of what we do here at NC Kabbalah, is bring you ideas that are new and, you know, try to expand your mind a little bit. So there's a lot of things out there that we don't know, and this should be a good encouragement to us to always be learning and to always be tolerant of people and things that we may not quite have a complete grasp on. What a great show it was. We hope to see you again on Wednesday night for the Quest Show, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, this is Jeff Daugherty reminding you to ask yourself better questions so you can live a better life. We'll talk to you next time.